Dear parents of Reddit, what is the most freaked up crap you've caught your kid doing? I caught my son, 7, and his best friend, 9, drawing clown faces on each other's butt cheeks and with the plans of farting in each other's faces. This might be the most normal post in the thread so far. Few weeks ago, my 4-year-old said she had to pee. She was in the bathroom for maybe 5 minutes when we start hearing her gag, so I tell her dad to go check on her. He walks in and she quickly throws a huge crap log back in the toilet and tries to hide her crap covered hands. When he asked her why she was playing with her crap, she said she wanted to see how squishy it was. Gag. I did this once when I was a kid. It stuck to my hands. Obviously, I was not pleased and never did it again. My wife was driving our, then, 3-year-old back from her aunt's house to eat lunch. She noticed him cram something in his mouth and start chewing, and she asked him what he was eating. No response. Thinking he might be choking or something, she brakes hard, pulls over to the side of the road, yanks the back door open and grabs a French fry out of his mouth. Now, they had been to McDonald's several days before, and the car had been cleaned since then. So she looks high and low to see where it came from. She gets suspicious and takes the cover off his car seat. Lo and behold, there are about a dozen stale fries in the folds of the plastic car seat. Far too many to be accounted for by random drops. The kid was stashing them for later like a squirrel. I was super afraid it was going to be bugs. Thank goodness it wasn't bugs. My daughter crapped in a box and gave it to my son as a present in front of our whole family. I guess no one really caught her as she was obviously and openly trolling. Pretty fricked up. I didn't even know what to say to that. I feel their ages might be an important aspect to this story. This is tame by comparison to other stories here, but here it is. When my son was about a year old, I found him stuffing his pants pockets full of Vaseline, scooping it out with his hands. Really makes me wonder why little kids' clothes even have pockets. My 4-year-old daughter used to stash steak knives in strategic locations around the house. My neighbor busted her doing it. I didn't believe him until he pulled out a 6 inches carving knife from behind a bookcase. With the right mentor, your daughter will grow up to be an amazing badass. My friend who worked in a residential treatment facility once found a kid who had stuck a paperclip into an electrical outlet and was lying on the floor looking at it. When asked what he was doing, the kid replied, "Every time I touch this with my tongue I wet my pants." You can excuse the first time, and the second time in the name of science, but after that you have to wonder about the kid. Friend's daughter once said pretty loudly in a bus, "Look, daddy, uncle's beard looks like mom's pee-pee." Mama going 70s style. Walking in on my son flirting on Omegle. He was 7 at that time. "Hey BBY, we should go out for juice boxes sometime." My son went through a phase where he would wake up from his nap, unbeknownst to us, take off his diaper and smear his crap all over his room. It'd be on his bed, the walls, the windows, his toys. Worst of all, there would be places where it looked like he rubbed it into the carpet with all his might. I wish I could say this only happened once. We also caught him eating his own crap more than once. I was babysitting my friend's children, probably aged around 5 and 7 back then, and I caught the daughter, the 5-year-old, following her brother into the bathroom when he went to pee. The kids then informed me that she does it all the time because she likes to run her fingers in the stream of urine and then lick her fingers because it's yummy. He might have diabetes. My daughter is not even 3, but she put a box of nerds down her diaper and stated that she was a rattle toy. That's hilarious. Uncle to a rambunctious boy. When he was around 2, we found him laying around with the dog English Bulldog. Neither seemed like anything was wrong, except for the dog jingling. My nephew had stuck my brother's car key up the dog's butt, like all the way to the plastic knob. The dog seemed unfazed and my nephew seemed proud he found the keyhole to start the dog. Best one so far. I have an 8-year-old son who has sleepovers with the kid down the block. I came downstairs and one had his head under the other's blanket. After the typical "what the F are you guys doing?" I had found out that they have a game where they smell one another's farts. I thought it was weird, then I remembered the same scene from Biodome. Keep on cruising down the line, do or die. babysitting my twin cousins recently. They're 5. They were arguing about something during a snack, and the boy twin suddenly got eerily calm. He goes into her bedroom, gets a tiny Anole, the lizards you find in your garden, terrarium, and takes it outside. She starts screaming bloody murder. I'm completely confused. He turns to her through the glass door and proceeds to smash the tank against the ground. Just windmills his arm and wails the tiny box against the cement. No fluctuation in his emotion. I ran out to stop him, but the 5 or so little lizards in the tank were dead. I look back at the other twin, and she was sobbing into her hands. He just walked past her and sits down to continue eating his snack. My aunt told me that was the 3rd time he's done that. Yeah, the boy might have some problems. Me and my 5-year-old son at the urinals. He's arguing that his pee-pee is bigger. It was at a hockey arena, so there were about 40 dudes laughing their asses off. My daughter, when 15 and heavily in piercing, death metal, decided to brand herself with a star shape on her arm. I didn't realize till the next day. Still no idea how she managed the shape or not to scream. She still has the scars. Metal F. My 3-year-old daughter came into the living room while we had friends over and said, "Mommy, look." Lifted her dress and there was a small doll stuck between her legs. She was extremely proud of herself in that moment. Me, not so much. AWH. She just wanted to show you that she'd found a pocket. 3. My youngest of 3 had just started walking. One day I found her hanging onto the bathroom toilet. I walked in and to my surprise saw her with a handful of soggy toilet paper. Right as I scream her name, that little baby hand reaches up into her mouth and she begins chewing it. One of my older kids forgot to flush and I panicked. Having never experienced this with her bro or sis, I called poison control. They assured me that children ingest fecal matter often and she may have a stomachache but will be fine. Another time, same kid mind you, we are walking into a grocery store. I look down and say name. "Where did you get that gum you're chewing?" Her reply was on the ground. Gag. She is by far my most disgusting child. That kid is going to have a killer immune system. My kids were pretty tame. I had one son scotch tape himself to the floor. I think he liked the sound of the tape coming off the roll. Same son also built scotch tape footbridges between countertops. My daughter sneaked out one night and a friend who works nights saw her, called us. We were waiting on her bed when she climbed back in the window. God, that was a great parenting moment. I didn't so much catch him at it. It was more like he was doing it at me. He's 4 years old, and we were having a bedtime battle where he simply wouldn't be quiet or stay in bed. He can really dig in his heels sometimes. I was getting peeing for the 4th or 5th time that night. I walked to his doorway to tell him he needed to be quiet. He was ready for me with his pants off, his ankles up to his ears and his butthole pointed directly at the doorway. He heard me when I stopped dead in my tracks and he looked up between his legs at me with pure hate in his eyes. I gently told him to pipe down and went back to my room. I came back one more time for the same reason and this time he was in the same position except he was sticking his finger in his butt at me. Hatefully. He just sat there wordlessly mean mugging me with his finger in his butt. That's probably the most fricked up crap I've caught my kid doing. I came back one more time for the same reason and this time he was in the same position except he was sticking his finger in his butt at me. Hatefully. He just sat there wordlessly mean mugging me with his finger in his butt. I'm freaking crying. I used to have a roommate that would help with watching my daughter, even during times where I just needed a nap. One day I was napping and my roommate was watching my daughter but my daughter headed back to her room. She didn't come out for a while so my roommate went looking for her. She found my daughter in my room standing over me with a toy knife bringing it down over and over whispering, "Stab, stab, stab, stab. Oh God, hide your sharp knives." My son was 5 and had started playing Skyrim on the Xbox 360. One afternoon, the neighbor called and asked if I could watch her son, also 5, for a few hours. They played with swords, shields, Nerf guns, typical boy games. At one point I stopped hearing them. That's always a dangerous thing with any child. You know something is going down. I opened the door very quietly and saw them on the floor. My son was now wearing his friend's shirt and pants, and the other boy was down to only his underwear. My first thought was what the frick, but my son looked up at me with a sword in his hand and said we are playing Skyrim and I just killed him, so I am taking his stuff. All I could say was okay, but let's try to keep all of our clothes on from now on. This one is awesome. Well, from the age of about 2-5 I had a flock of imaginary ducks that used to follow me around. Apparently we had to wait a good minute or so each day when getting into the car so all my duck friends could come along. When asked about them I would say that I am their king and they are here to follow me, but apparently it started getting weird when I would pretend to break up fights between the ducks and cry when one died. Yeah, I was a bit of a fricked up kid. This is my favorite imaginary friend story I've ever heard. My brother hated bugs, and we had cacti in our front yard. He would cut their heads off and either skewer them all over the cactus, or he would take their head and put twigs in their body where their heads would be. Vlad the Exterminator. Sent the boys to bed with popcorn for a fun treat. Hear maniacal laughter shortly thereafter. Go upstairs to find one of them sticking popcorn between his cheeks and farting so it came out. Asked what was going on. Both boys in a panic tried to eat evidence, as mother and I watched horrified. I can't stop laughing, this is so funny. Walked into the bathroom to find my son trying to put a piece of crap up his butt because he thought his heart fell out. My fart will go on. Not my kid, but my friend went to pick up his little brother from his friend's house and no parents were home, so he walked up and found his brother and his friend holding each other's dongs. My friend is a 3rd grade teacher. He came to school one morning after having been out sick for a day and found that his classroom only had girls. Turns out all of the boys had been suspended the day before for teabagging each other during recess. Walked in on my kid torturing an action figure with a lighter. Didn't happen to me, but a friend caught her 4-year-old son killing their kitten by smashing it with a book. He's been going to therapy but still. That's fricked up. Less fricked up than funny, but my cousin entered the bathroom to find her 2-year-old boy had covered himself in mommy's stickers. They weren't stickers, they were Kotex pads. And yes, there are photos. I fondly remember a birthday party at my then girlfriend's family, when her 5-year-old cousin came down the stairs from the bathroom, happy as a clam and announcing to the world, "Mommy, I stuffed cotton balls into my butt, just as you always do." Mommy was not happy with her son. Apparently when I was little, I ran off, naked, towards the local golf course. I was also caught making my butthole breathe in front of the mirror. Oh, and I picked up my little sister by the head. I'm getting a vasectomy. Right behind you. You have been visited by the IT lizard. Upvote or experience bad internet for a month. Like and subscribe, you magnificent person.